Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and welcome into another edition of the program. So we have a wonderful program for you here today, as we have on with us Accessory Power, and they make a number of different products, but we are mainly going to be focusing on one in particular, and it's a great speaker system. And by the way, I just wanted to get this out of the way, kind of at the forefront, that we will be talking about the Bass Pulse 5.1 speaker system, and we actually were able to get one in for review. So keep an eye out for an article that will be posted up on the website and through all the different columns that we have. Keep an eye out for a review coming out by the end of the week. Yeah, looking forward to that. So, but with that being said, before we jump into our interview, a few things we should mention, including computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find anything and everything to do with today's show, including a link to our guest website, any articles, any videos that we do during the news portion, just anything to do with the show. One place, computeramerica.com, find today's show, and there you go. Also, be sure to check out the social media contest, giving one away this Friday, brought to you by Logitech. And the last thing is, of course, the live video stream, where you can watch Computer America and not just listen. And that's going to come in handy today because our guest is joining us via Skype, via video as well. So you can see all of us having this conversation. So, I think that's just about it. We're going to jump into this. And again, looking forward to this because, this is something that I think we all use, we all take for granted, but a new sound system, a different sound system, and really just, peripherals for your computer. They're usually one of the most affordable things to change, but sometimes they make all the difference. So, joining us on today's show is Mr. Darren Rieger, and he's the Product Development Manager for Accessory Power. And Darren, thank you for joining us here on Computer America.
Hey, thanks for having me. Nice to talk to you all.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. So, like I was saying, it's, really looking forward to this because it's a topic that can be overlooked a lot of times, but we have a lot of headset, companies on the show, and kind of headphone companies, but that's very selfish. That's very for one person, a one-person experience. You're here to talk about something that is a little bit more all-inclusive. So, before we get started, why don't you give us a little bit of a background behind Accessory Power and yourself?
Sure. So we've been in the consumer electronics industry for over 30 years. And I've been with the company about 7 years now, starting from the ground up. So I've kind of learned everything about CE, speaker design, and sound profiles and different drivers. Everything that goes into the Bass Pulse, I've learned while I was here at Accessory Power. And we've been really focused on channeling our efforts into the gaming and audio sectors of CE. So really excited to talk about the Bass Pulse 5.1. Not only do we do speakers, but we also do everything else under the sun that could be an accessory for your products, whether it's cases, batteries, cables, mounts, and even unique stuff. We're always expanding. There's no limit to our products, so we're getting into, but heavily into gaming over the last year, I think.
Right, and that's actually very interesting because obviously we here at Computer America, we have our own gaming segment. This is not one of them, but I'm kind of interested. I mean, I've seen other companies do it. Is gaming just kind of where people are willing to spend, their money, or is gaming just kind of cool to have on the portfolio? I mean, what is this renewed interest in gaming? Because it used to be, I recall not too long ago, it was about just the general consumer. What could you put out that was decent, that was moderately priced, and had mass appeal? And now it seems to all be about gaming.
I think the key is in the word esports. So I think in the beginning, maybe people consider them games, right? They're simple, something to spend your time when you're not busy or after work. You can wind down, but it has changed from gaming to esports. And like any other sport, there are things that you can do to increase your performance, increase your reaction time, better equipment, better performance. And I've seen it evolve. I think in the beginning of gaming, there were only a couple people innovating. You have your Razer, you have your Corsair, you have guys that were in on the ground floor that innovated a lot. And then you had kind of just your normal run of the mill mouse. And I think where we started out was gaming styling. We have a lot of gamers in our company, so it's definitely always been a push internally that we should be exploring gaming. And once we kind of dipped our toes in with a few relatively low tech mice, but good sensors, good DPI, 3500 DPI, some headsets, we found a lot of interest in it, especially because we have a good reputation for our products. We have a 3-year warranty on our products.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of companies that are kind of affordable, but also offering quality. You have your straight from China product that comes in a baggie, and if it stops working, good luck. And then you have your $100 headset that maybe not everybody can afford. So I think we came in at a good point, and we've been upping our technology ever since to keep up with the market, keep up with innovation, and really we've been partnering with a lot of gaming teams. My colleague Brittany in PR, she talks to them every day, and we're actually sending samples back and forth. We're testing things with them and getting their feedback. So we're really making sure that our products are up to the task of every new game that's coming out, because each game is getting more and more complicated, and you need more and more not help, but more and more ways to take advantage of the game in the best way that you can.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just as a personal anecdote, I know that one game that's getting a lot of attention is Player Unknown Battlegrounds, and it's getting so many people interested. And I think one thing that I see that separates a lot of people, from the really good players from the really bad players, and again, it's not cheating, it's not anything else. It's the idea of surround sound, because you can hear which direction your opponent is coming from, and that's helpful because sometimes they're above you, they're behind you, they're around a corner, and not being able to if you're in mono or even sometimes even in stereo, you really are at a disadvantage where they can kind of intuitively know exactly where you are. So I mean, these games, they do require, or not even require, but they do lend themselves to better equipment. So, and I did bring
Exactly.
up, yeah, and I did bring up audio for a reason, and that's because I think we should get started talking about the Bass Pulse 5.1 speaker system. So, obviously gamers, that's a pretty self-explanatory demographic on its own. But I mean, is that your ideal demographic? I mean, is this only for gamers? Because I got to be honest, again, we have a unit here at the studio, and I mean, very, very stylized. I mean, it catches the eye. It doesn't just blend in. It's not just black and gray. I mean, it stands out.
Yeah, the Baseball 5.1 is based off basically our number one best-selling model, which is the 2.1. And the 2.1, very unique acrylic satellites with no, rim around them, LED lighting, really modern look. And it was just something very different. We've always done some speakers with LEDs, but this one we kind of just went out there, did a lot of design work, got a lot of feedback, and spent a lot of time on the 2.1. And after the 2.1, we were really, how do we keep growing the bass pulse line? And, there's not a lot of options in the 5.1 PC audio area. There's a few companies that do it, but most are geared for TV,
Hmm.
for connection to, TOS link or optical or something like that, not geared for PC output.
Right. Yeah. And again, if you're watching the video portion, we have a picture of it up. It's that neon blue really does catch your eye, and obviously 5.1 surround sound. Um, I mean, it's I kind of touched on it lately with my story, but I mean, how's the feedback been for gamers? Are they finding it kind of useful? Because a lot of gamers, they play, a lot of laptops are built in with mono or stereo, and they never invest in a a standalone speaker system. Are they finding it helpful? I mean, are how's the reception been for this product so far?
So far, it's been really great. It's true surround sound. So when you're using a headset, unless you're using maybe a $300 or $400 headset, most headsets are virtual surround sound. So it uses auditory cues and tricks to mimic true surround sound, and it does a pretty good job. But if you really are looking for a true surround sound setup, you need a speaker system that can physically surround you. So this speaker system directly connects to your PC out of the outputs and gives specific channels, left, right, front, left, right, back, center subwoofer. So when you hear something behind you, it's literally behind you. So the clarity on true surround sound versus virtual surround sound is going to be a lot better. Not only that, a lot of the folks that buy the 2.1 and now are buying the 5.1, they do it because A, they like the volume, they like the bass. You won't really get that from a headset. You can feel like the explosions going off or something whizzing by.
Right.
And also, not everybody wants to be confined to a headset. So having the speakers, kind of frees you up. You don't have a cable hanging off your head.
Yeah, no, that's certainly a thing, and of course, who wouldn't want the sensation that your house is being blown up when you're playing a game? That is very very important. So, I mean, it's tell me a bit about the setup process because I know that I mean, is this made for certain kind of motherboards? I mean, what is this compatible with? Do you need some kind of adapter? Let's say if you're on a laptop, would it work with that? Tell us a little bit about the hardware specs of this.
Okay. So setup is pretty simple. These work with 5.1 surround sound cards. So many gaming PCs that are kits or you buy pre-made from, Alienware, another gaming company like that, will come with a sound card that is for 5.1 output. If you do not have one, they're relatively inexpensive. You can get one anywhere from like, 19.99 to $30 from companies like Creative or other companies that make sound cards.
Mm-hmm.
So these have just 3.5 outputs. There's three of them on the back of the computer, and then there's three of them on the back of the bass pulse, and they're color coded, so you can't mix them up. They're universal colors, so it's the same coming out of your sound card. So you match the orange to the orange, the black to the black, and each color, etc. Same
Right.
thing goes for the satellites. There's three plugs. You just plug them in to the right colors, and you're set up. So setup is pretty simple. Is some things to think about when you are setting up is making sure that your sound card is set up properly, it's selected in your computer, and also that your game that you're running A has 5.1 output and B is set to 5.1 output. So there are some things that you should check off your list, when you're setting up a 5.1 system to make sure everything's in line. But if everything's in line, you should have great sound out of everything. If you're running a laptop
Right.
or a computer that maybe doesn't have a slot, to add a internal sound card, there are USB ones available with software. We've messed around with a couple of them. Some of them are easier to use, some of them are harder. I would watch out for the reviews on any external sound cards and just make sure that they're compatible with your PC. And but there's a lot of great reviewed ones, so some people are using them, especially for laptops. If you're running a gaming laptop, or even if you want to watch movies, so many of my friends watch, Netflix or other videos on their computers. They don't even own a TV, so they're looking for a sound system that can work with their computer.
Right. No, and of course, all that great advice because, uh, it seems like that's a lot of people know how to use a computer, but a lot of the sound settings and things like that are done kind of automatically for a lot of users, and they never know the joy of multiple sources, multiple outputs, and making everything work correctly. So yeah, no, a lot of good advice in there. So obviously this is focused towards gamers. It does have the aesthetics. It does have, a lot of capability. But would someone who maybe is not a gamer, would they kind of enjoy the bass pulse? I mean, what would they get if they're not gamers?
So you're gonna get really great sound and more of it. So versus the 2.1, 2.1 means, you have your left and right, and the point one is always your subwoofer. 5.1 is going to give you five satellites, so you now are surrounded by audio. And so, like I said, you can connect this to your PC for watching movies, listening to music, or any other media that you like. Um, but also, it has a 2.0 input, meaning you can plug in your phone, you can plug in your tablet, you can plug in anything else that's got a standard 3.5 out, even maybe from your TV if it's got headphone out. And you can listen to things in a kind of an expanded 360 stereo experience. So um, it's really great when you can be surrounded by the music. It's better than hitting you from one side. And you can also balance out the volume a little bit more. You can kind of lower the volume since it's not trying to fill the room from one side. You're getting hit with more even, well balanced audio.
Right. And by the way, cannot wait till we talk about the price of this thing because when I looked it up, it was surprising to say the least. So I'll leave you with that little cliffhanger. But let's and you kind of went through the setup process, very very simple. Of course, if you don't have kind of that dedicated sound card or even one of the higher end motherboards, you maybe have to get an adapter or something like that. That should be kind of obvious. So I mean, are there any kind of features? Because I did notice that we pulled the one out of here, here at the studio, and I read the pamphlet. It had something along the lines of when the bass is cranked up or something like that, the lights would flicker in time with with the music. I mean, talk about some of the features of using the this system.
Sure. So the satellites are all lit up. They're lit up pretty bright. Most people love them. And but we do have controls for the lights. You can shut them off at night so they don't keep you up at night, especially if you're playing music or something else. You don't want the lighting on. But when you want the lights on, you just press that little pulse button on the front. And what that does is it lights up all the satellites. And when your volume is cranked, when the bass hits, the lights pulse to the music or to the explosion. It kind of gives it a really cool effect, especially when you're playing a game and maybe you're under fire or there's something crazy going and the lights are kind of going with the action. It really does immerse you with the action and the sound and the lighting. It's kind of a sensory experience for you. And then the acrylic really, handles the lighting well. I know of a lot of our pictures are on white, so it's hard to really get a sense of it. But if you kind of Google some images of people have these in their houses. We've sold, thousands and thousands and thousands, if not a million by now.
Hmm.
If you Google them, there's tons of people that have these in their gaming setups, and you can see them kind of glowing with their keyboard and their mouse. And we offer them in three different colors: the red, the blue, and the green, which are actually the most popular gaming colors. You got your
RGB, of
blue
course.
for
Yeah.
yeah. So You can match the setup right now. The 5.1, we introduced it in the blue color because that's our number one selling color. And so far, the feedback's been really great. So I'm sure that we'll be releasing more colors as we go along.
Yeah, cannot wait for what everyone else pushes as the 7.3 million color, the one with just the RGB sliding scale. I'm sure that something like that is in the works. But
It
no,
is.
yeah, and they look really great. Talk real quick about because the center speaker, it's a bit different than all the other speakers. All the other speakers just kind of have the one, kind of the one speaker built in, but then the center speaker has two side by side. I mean, does that kind of add anything, to the center speaker?
Yes, absolutely. The center speaker actually has two drivers and a passive woofer. The reason for this is because most of the audio is coming out of the center channel when you're on 5.1. So when you have dialogue or main audio, most of it's coming out of the center speaker. So the center speaker has been upgraded with two drivers and the passive woofer for better sound. And the surround speakers, they are compensating for the sound coming around you. So when something's driving past you or whizzing by you, those are when those activate, or when there's kind of background music and that's coming through on a video in the game that's playing all around you. You'll hear everything all around you. But when you're watching a movie, you know, I'd say 80% of the time the front speaker is the main audio source. So the center speaker sounds really great even on its own. And then the design of it is different than the rest of the speakers because we've done it with a horizontal design. So when we tested some other speakers in our office,
Mm-hmm.
they were tall. And when you don't want to set something like that up in front of your monitor, you're going to end up offsetting it. You won't get that true 5.1 because it's not in front of you. So we wanted to make sure that the speaker was lower profile so it could fit under your monitor. We know that not everybody's monitor is the same shape, size, height. So we've also included a 3M strip that can go on top of the monitor. So you can mount it right above your monitor. It's removable. It's kind of like, if you've ever messed around with a GoPro mount, you can stick
Right.
it on. It's really secure. I was shaking my monitor trying to knock it off, but it's really secure. But when you want to remove it, you can, and then it also has a hang hole on the back of it, so you can put a screw or a nail or a adhesive hook on the wall, and you can hang it up above your monitor. So three different ways to attach that center speaker. So that's why it looks different than the rest of them.
Right. And you mentioned it way at the beginning, but could you speak more to your 3-year warranty? Because I think for a lot of things that people buy nowadays, especially at certain price points, I mean, 3 years is kind of the expected lifespan. And I know gamers who go through mice on a yearly basis, if not every couple months. But 3 years is, I think, kind of the expected, if not a good life cycle for, something that doesn't cost $500. Why 3 years? Because, again, that's a bit longer compared to the industry standard.
Yeah, I think most industry standards 1 year, just long enough for your stuff to break, right?
Yeah.
Um, so we really believe in our products. We take a long time to develop them. We take a long time to test them. I personally am testing every single order and unit that comes in here. So I have these on my desk. When we get customer feedback, we implement that feedback. Um, we have a customer service team here that takes calls from all our retailers, anybody that's calling in for warranty, and that feedback doesn't go into an inbox somewhere to be addressed 10 years later. We're constantly talking about how we can improve our products, how we can make sure that they're the highest quality possible, and really we stand by it. As a growing brand, as a lot of people have heard of us, but definitely more people probably haven't heard of us. And we want everyone to know that you should give us a shot because we stand behind our products, and we're willing to put the 3-year warranty on it to show you that we've really done our work. We didn't go pick up these speakers off a shelf somewhere and say these are now the GOgroove bass pulses. These are built from the ground up, designed in California in our office, and go through a lengthy design process and testing process so that we can make sure that we're delivering great quality to our customers.
Very well said. So, and just as a personal note, could you kind of speak to, you mentioned that you're partnering with or, in talks with certain teams. Any teams in particular? Any kind of games that you guys are really interested in? Maybe CSGO, League of Legends, Dota. What are your initiatives in esports? Because fun fact, we just had on the Score, and I believe that interview was like last week sometime. And yeah, they have a whole section. Normally they're for football, baseball, blah blah blah. They have a whole section for esports, and they were on the program talking about their whole esports dedicated division. And it really is picking up a lot of steam. So what kind of has Accessory Power excited in the esports scene?
So we actually have an in-house team that's playing Dota 2. I think that's already maybe a little outdated. I think for sure League of Legends has been the biggest for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. A lot of our teams are playing League of Legends. Overwatch kind of blew up for a second. It seems like maybe that's dying down a little bit, but League of Legends always seems to be constant. And I'm sure, WoW players, there'll be another iteration. Everybody will get back into it. But I'd say League of Legends is a big one that our teams play. I'm not sure the specific teams that are on our roster right now. We're always adding them every day. I know that we have a lot of collegiate teams that are signed up, UNLV, and a lot of others. I've been talking a lot with UNLV since they're not that close to us, but they've definitely been one of our longest gaming teams that's been partnered with us. And actually, when we go to CES, they always come out and they are playing at our booth and talking about the equipment because they're hands-on with it. They know everything. They know it better than some of our employees since they're using it every day. And I think we'll have a bunch of our teams visiting actually this CES. We have jerseys, we have sponsored equipment, and so far we've just been growing and growing in that area. More and more teams want to sign up. And it's been really great. If you go on the Enhance Gaming, actually, I probably could see it right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, thanks for mentioning CES. Computer America is definitely going to be out there. We'll stop by, say hi, and check out what you guys are doing new. But man, CES, it's only like another 4 or 5 months away. Really sneaking.
Yeah, we're already starting up.
Yeah. So yeah, and you mentioned Enhance esports. I'm sorry, what was it?
Oh, if you go to our website, enhancegaming.com, you can see all our teams. There's also an application if you want to sign up to be a sponsored team. There's a calendar of events. You can see we have the UMN, PSU, BUPC, League of Legends at CLU. So you can see all our teams there, as well as all of our products. We have a bunch of new stuff coming out. It's really going to be a great CES. We've gone up to the next level. I think we were at maybe a mid-level gaming, mid-level audio, and the pro stuff's going to start showing up at CES.
Yeah, looking forward to it for sure. So, hey, and listen, Darren, we are just about out of time here. If people want to find out more information, where can they go?
Enhancegaming.com for all your gaming needs. GOgroove.com for the Bass Pulse 5.1 and other Bass Pulse products, and AccessoryPower.com for all of our products if you want to find out about the rest of the things that we make.
Perfect. So yeah, and everyone, will include a link to all those after the show, computeramerica.com. And Darren, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, have a great one. And everyone, we'll be back with more Computer America just after this. Stay tuned.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 31 minutes past the hour, and my goodness, we are jumping into a computer and technology news segment. And yeah, let's switch that over so you can see my gorgeous face. And it's just finishing up with Accessory Power, and they make a lot of different gear. We didn't talk about all of it. We mainly focus on the Base Pulse 5.1. And oh man, I didn't even mention the price, because the price, all important, went through all of that. And yeah, the price, you can find it online, obviously from their store and places like that. But you can also find it on places like Amazon, Best Buy, what have you, for $90. And when you look at it, when you look at the aesthetics, when you kind of see the reviews on this thing, thousands of reviews, still 4 out of 5 stars, and just incredible price point at $90. It's probably one of the most affordable 5.1 systems out there on the market with great reviews. So check it out. It's something, and of course we'll have our own review up on our website here later this week. Check it out. All right, so with that being said, next we're going to jump into computer and technology news, brought to you by Fire Dragon Security. All right, so I think we're going to start with, here we go. We're going to start with a bunch of different stories, and the first one is going to be, as soon as I pull it up here, this is something that we've been following off and on for a little while now, and I'm excited when it will finally get here, but it seems like it's always, 6 months away. It's always 6 months away before it finally hits the shelves, and yeah, I can't wait till it finally does, but there seems to be another hurdle that they have to overcome. And we are talking about the Impossible Burger. And the Impossible Burger, it's a completely, I don't even want to say like completely soy option, because I don't want to give the impression that it's a vegetarian burger, but it's a burger made of meats that is not derived from animals. So, but it cuts, and if you ever handled raw ground beef, you know the sensation when the water comes out and it's tinted red and all that kind of stuff. This stuff handles like red meat. It cooks like red meat, and supposedly tastes like red meat, but without all of the associated guilt behind eating another creature. So, I'm a huge fan of burgers in all their forms, and I think if I could eat one without the need to kill something, I would probably switch over pretty darn quick. So I've been paying attention to this, but unfortunately, it looks like there's another step in the process. So this coming from Ars Technica, and the Chic Impossible Burger. That's the name if you want to Google it. Impossible Burger that bleeds meats gristly FDA that's not having it. where the company sought extra assurance from the FDA, but it got safety concerns instead. So trying to do their due diligence, and sometimes when you do that, well, you run into the fact that you didn't do all your due diligence. So here we go, saying that for the plant-based Impossible Burger, so it is not derived from an animal, but there you have it. For the plant-based Impossible Burger that bleeds like real meat, venture capitalists have forked over millions, and high-profile chefs have called in orders over their swanky eateries. But the FDA, it seems, it has chewed up and spit out safety concerns. So the agency informed Impossible Foods, the company behind the famous faux burger, that it has not proven the safety of the food additive being used to simulate blood and meat-like taste. A protein from the roots of a soybean plant called leghemoglobin. I apologize for anyone out there who knows how to properly say that. But the protein has not been used in foods before and may be an allergen, and that the concern was revealed in documents from the Freedom of Information Act, and that the documents were reviewed by the New York Times. So they, to quote the actual evidence, they're saying that the FDA believes that the arguments presented individually and collectively do not establish safety of soy leghemoglobin for consumption, nor do they point to a general recognition of safety. So, yeah, they said that the concern from the agency does not mean that Impossible Foods must stop selling the burger. Actually, it went out of its way to do that. And of course, it went out, Impossible Burger went out of the way to seek the agency's approval. So, under the FDA's controversial interpretation of the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act of 1938, so controversial Act of 1938, the agency created an exemption for such food additives, and that food companies can use whatever additives that they want as long as they determine internally that the additive is generally recognized as safe, or GRAS, and that companies do not have to share their safety data with the agency or even notify it of a decision. So it sounds like the interpretation of that is simply try it yourself. Do you fall over dead? Yes or no? And, if you find that the people who are still standing after and before is to your liking, then you can put it out regardless of what additives you happen to put in it. And it doesn't become a problem until, I guess, enough people fall over after eating your product. Makes sense. So the FDA only questions decisions and data after the fact, and then it takes appropriate action if needed. So it's more of a reaction than a proactive kind of approach. All right. So they said they wanted a little extra dash of regulatory pizzazz given its growing profile, and that the company has raised another $250 million in investments from the likes of course, lots of venture capitalists and even Bill Gates himself, who, of course, Bill Gates does a lot of humanitarian work, and you can bet if you can make a food substance that mimics and replaces red meats, but is actually derived from soy and plants, well, yeah, a lot of people are going to go for it. And you can see the humanitarian impact. So, to kind of skip along here, they say that the director at the Canadian ETC group that initiated the FOIA request said that the soy leghemoglobin has been touted as the secret sauce of Impossible Foods burgers. And now we know that the FDA had questions about it, but it was put on the market anyways. But again, it's that whole, generally assumed it's okay to eat. And yeah, I think we're going to leave it there. But Impossible Foods, it seems like they're going to have to do some kind of study now to assuage the FDA. All in all, it seems like the FDA doesn't really cover this kind of thing. It was more on Impossible Foods' initiative that the FDA took a look at this. And hey, possibly this could be a good thing. You know, it shows that it is entirely safe. It has been reviewed, things like that. But we won't know until Impossible Foods or Impossible Burger gets done. But yeah, I always like the idea of eating a guilt-free burger. Because no matter how much you enjoy that burger, no matter how much, I always find it that, you know, a little part of you says, you know, I could have eaten something that didn't have big soulful eyes at some point. But, yeah, until then, we'll see what happens. All right, so another hot topic here on the show is the idea of autonomy. And autonomy is great because it affords services to those who maybe wouldn't have access to it otherwise. Well, check this one out. This is at Japan, and if it works well, I mean, Japanese is always, the Japanese culture is always open to automation more so than other cultures, simply because, you know, a number of factors that include an aging population that doesn't have a younger population to care for it, as well as a general okayedness, a general eagerness to accept robot overlords. I mean, whatever it may be, they're completely gung-ho about the idea of autonomy, and it is shown here at a Japanese airport where autonomous wheelchairs are coming to ferry people around the airport. Very cool. So, passengers with limited mobility will soon be able to navigate airports more easily thanks to Panasonic's robotic electronic wheelchair. And I don't know about you, but when I think Panasonic, I think televisions, I think maybe even toothbrushes, not self-driving wheelchairs. But they're saying that it's developed as part of a wider program to make Japan's Haneda airports more accessible to all, and the wheelchair utilizes autonomous mobility technology. After users input their destination via smartphone, the wheelchairs will identify its position and select the best route to get there. I assume it's programmed, not true autonomy, but probably something in the neighborhood of, you know, don't crash into anything in front of you, and pair that with pre-planned, pre-routed, electronics that make it kind of mostly autonomous. So it's not, it's not like the dream of the fully self-driving car, but it's a stepping stone. And I'm sure for people with limited mobility, something that's, you know, insanely helpful, especially at airports. It can be so crowded, but multiple chairs can move in tandem, which means families or groups can travel together, and after use, the chairs will regroup automatically, reducing the workload for airport staff who don't have to go around and wrangle them. And that the chairs also use sensors to stop automatically if they detect a potential collision, as assumed. So, the chairs will be tested between now and March 2018 alongside a number of other initiatives between Panasonic and, let me see if I got this right. Nope, I didn't. And NTT, where other programs include eliminating language barriers through smartphone object recognition technology. So, you know, things like just pointing a smartphone at a sign for translation, and reducing passenger congestion through crowd analysis technology and clearer intelligent audio signage for the visually impaired. Japan seems to be trying to tackle pain points through technology, at least through this one airport and through certain initiatives. I mean, this is not culture wide or, you know, all over Japan, but it seems like, especially places where they're mingling with a lot of different nationalities, such as airports, and I'm sure, you know, other places of, you know, destination, that I'm getting this feeling that technology is the answer to a lot of what they have to do. So it's not translators, it's not people, it's not helpers, it's not people from, you know, other countries. Instead, it's technology is going to be the way to fix a lot. of what they see as a problem. So there you have it, and a link to that in the show notes. So let's move on to this next story. And we have time for about 3 or 4 more stories. This one caught my eye because it's interesting that Intel is deciding to go this way. I mean, the idea of a solid-state drive is a shocker to no one. Solid-state drives have been around for a while, and they've always had one hiccup behind traditional hard drives, platter drives, or, just magnetic drives, and it was always storage. Well, in this, there's no other way to say it, in this goofy looking solid state drive compared to what we know as compact, small, rectangular. Admittedly, this is still rectangular, but folks, if you took geometry or paid attention to shapes in kindergarten, well, it's a rectangle, but they call it a ruler form factor. So you can think of it, and I don't have the exact measurements here right now. It looks like it's, instead of molding the 2.5 inch or 3.5 inch size of traditional drives, it's a long, skinny shape meant to fit in a rack-mounted server. So they call it the ruler. It's a pretty good name for it because it's, maybe 14, 15 inches long if perspective has anything to do with it, and about 3 inches tall. Yeah, 15 inches by about 3 inches. I mean, this thing is about the shape of a ruler. And the goal of this solid-state drive is not to break the mold for everyone, but rather to work in data centers and servers. And this new form factor allows them to push for petabyte solid-state drives. So currently we're on terabytes. Currently it's not hard to, kind of find 4 terabyte, 8 terabyte. I've seen so much as like 36 terabyte. But this is Intel with solid-state drive looking towards making a 1,000 terabyte solid-state drive. And you can be assured, you cannot afford this. That is a guarantee with this kind of technology. But this is still, again, a prototype where Intel is making the case to swap out old disk-based drives in data centers with SSDs. And as part of that, it's showing off the new ruler form factor where it will plug into a PCIe slot, and its long, skinny shape, again, fits into a rack-mounted server. And they're saying that with regular 10 terabyte hard drives, would only take up 100 bay 4U server. Would only take up a 100 bay 4U server. So, okay, so maybe this is a 10 terabyte, which would make a lot more sense. I don't think you could fit 1,000 terabytes into something even this small. But if it's 10 terabytes and you just need 100 of them, which would not be unheard of for when it comes to, server racks, well, that makes it a lot more manageable. And that the new ruler drives aren't available yet, but Intel claims it will offer them both an Optane and 3D NAND SSD in the near future. So, one of the main arguments for switching away from traditional hard drives, I mean, the storage capacity, I think, is still on the side of traditional hard drives. I mean, if you really want to get technical, the best of the best when it comes to capacity, just flat out, is tape drives, surprisingly. I mean, we just did a story about a single cassette-like device can hold up to like 350 terabytes. I mean, and those things are, minuscule, and you could stack them over and over again. But tape drives, you cannot access them at any point. You kind of have to start from the beginning, work your way to the end. They're not random access. Whereas, traditional hard drives, they have moving platters, they have moving parts, and yes, their storage is better than SSDs, but they have moving parts and they can fail. They have a higher failure rate than traditional hard drives. Still low, but still not that good. So the switch over to SSD, it's inevitable, it's going to happen, but it has to be maybe not even cost effective, because I think a lot of companies can make the argument for not having to worry about the price of these things. But at some point, you have to take into account the speed at which you can recall the data, which is going to help their clients, is going to help them, and it's just going to make it a better product. And if the capacity can get up there and they use less power, then yeah, a lot of the arguments for the price can be overcome when it comes to maintenance and actually running these things. So it's a bit exciting. I mean, the look of it is definitely something new, and Intel pushing for the idea of a petabyte SSD, although petabyte in the form factor of 100 of these things would be a petabyte. There you have it. Okay, so let's see. So one thing I've noticed, this is kind of in my spare time. I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of Twitch. Kind of keep up to date. And something I'm noticing is that a lot of people are moving away from YouTube, even though YouTube has been dominant for so long, for so many people. Well, it seems like they're doing some wonky things with their monetization policy. So, hey, let's get into that. Here we have it. This coming from a gadget, Mr. Steve Dent, and YouTube clarifies how much cash its creators can make, saying that it's also getting easier for creators to appeal monetization issues. And we've even had it here on the program where if we play a song a little bit too long, then Computer America's YouTube videos are demonetized for copyrighted material. Hey, it can happen to a lot of people. So a lot of creators rely on YouTube to make a living. But despite recent efforts to improve, the Google-owned site still takes video down for no good reason. And they're saying that on top of that, mismatching ads to offensive videos recently spawned an adpocalypse that deprived legitimate creators of revenue. And they said that in a blog post, YouTube now says it will unveil new icons to let you know to what extent your video is being monetized. It'll also give you a new way to appeal directly to the video manager for copyright and community guideline problems. One of the big things for Google, at least for YouTube and things like that, is that when you're trying to make a living off of it and you are trying to pay the bills, and Google is so big that they have automated a majority of what they do at YouTube, at Gmail, at wherever. I give you a challenge. Go out and try to get an employee from Google on the phone. Well, it can't happen. There is literally no customer relation when it comes to Google, and yeah, it's a pain point for a lot of people, and so they're flocking away from it, as well as the fact that if Google errs on the side of the policy, the policy holder, or the person who has, they err against people violating the terms of services. So they won't take your side. They won't assume that you're right. They'll err on the side of the complaint, and then they'll go back and work it out if they have to. But the fact that you can't get a person and plead your case directly to someone from Google rubs a lot of people the wrong way. So they, and like we said, new icons, you can see them here. There's a little green one, says that indicates that the video can earn money from the broadest set of advertisers and from YouTube Red. The next one indicates that the video is eligible to earn money on YouTube Red, but will have limited or no ads because the video has been classified as either not suitable for advertisement or has been fully demonetized because of the guidelines. And that's the little yellow one. And then the last one is obviously no revenue because something in it is offensive, copyrighted, blah, blah, blah. Either way, cannot be monetized. So YouTube points out that the new icons don't change your earnings in any way, but at least give you a detailed understanding of whether your video has been identified as not suitable for advertisers. And they're saying that we want our system to get better and better, and every appeal helps. And that's when people, appeal or argue with the automated claim system. So last year, Google created a team to deal with monetization and policy issues, but the problem resulting from ads on offensive videos happened well after that. And since then, Google has emphasized Google Preferred, or the 5% most viewed channels, and many advertisers have returned there, according to Adweek. So the money is flying out of YouTube, except for the top. So with 1.5 billion monthly users, the site has a lot of content to deal with. And it didn't say exactly how it plans to deal with the extra appeals. It didn't explain how to deal with the extra appeals that the new monetization system will no doubtedly create. And odds are automation. So YouTube, I'm seeing a lot of YouTubers are looking for new ways to make revenue. YouTube is not making it easy, but YouTube is such a big platform. They're going the way that they feel is best. So see what happens. All right. How about this one? Last one of the day, and we knew this day was coming. We've seen problems arise when it comes to things like firefighters, battling forest fires. People use these drones. They use them in places they're not supposed to, and they especially love using them when there's an emergency, or when there's an emergency, when there's people about. Just poor drone usage. Well, the United States military can now shoot down consumer drones it considers a threat. That's right. So you really have to know what's a no-fly zone, and if the military determines that your drone is being a little bit too invasive, is flying where it wasn't supposed to be, is just anything else, well, yeah, it could be target practice for the U.S. military, where the Pentagon spokesperson, Navy Captain Jeff Davis, says that the infringing drones can be seized and that the new guidance does afford the ability to take action to stop these threats, and that includes disabling, destroying, or tracking. How a base responds to a drone will depend upon the specific circumstances. So, if they want to track it back to the user, they can do that. If they want to pull out a gun and pop it out of the sky, they can do that. Whatever the military considers best practice. So the Army bases have been considered no-fly zones for years, along with national parks, major sports stadium when events are occurring, and anything within a 5-mile radius of a major airport and a 15-mile radius of Reagan National Airport. Where earlier this year, they said that they banned unauthorized drone use over 133 additional military facilities. So anything with a flight, anything with things flying normally, can't be anywhere near them. So national parks out of the question. And yeah, I'm not sure when a military presence would be
90 seconds.
Will kind of be there, but odds are, yeah, they can take action. So, some drones have built-in geofencing to avoid no-fly zones, but the measure is not foolproof. And that the new Pentagon policy comes on the heels of a new proposal which seeks to let government agencies monitor any unpiloted aircraft system flying over an American-covered facility, location, or installation and destroy it if deemed necessary. So,
60 seconds.
Folks, there you have it. Drones possibly going to be shot down in the near future if you fly them where you're not supposed to. Hey, we knew it was a possibility. So everyone, thank you for joining us here on Computer America. Thank you, Accessory Power, for joining us in the first segment. And if you missed any part of today's show, check it out, computeramerica.com. We have everything and anything that you need right there on our homepage. So, until next time, everyone, have a great day. Catch you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
10 seconds.